Imagine a silent courtroom, tense with whispers and judgment, when a little black girl in a frilly pink dress stands up, lifts her trembling hand, and points directly at a decorated police officer. What she says next doesn't just silence the courtroom, it shakes the nation. This isn't just a courtroom drama, it's a story about truth, courage, and a child's voice cutting through power and prejudice. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more shocking, emotional, and powerful stories that speak truth to power, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single. The incident, it began on a rain-slicked Thursday evening in a sleepy town just outside Atlanta, Georgia. 8-year-old Amara Jenkins clutched her mother's hand as they crossed the street toward the corner store. Her curly hair bounced in damp ringlets, and her pink backpack bounced on her shoulders. Her mother, Kiara, worked double shifts at the diner and had promised Amara a chocolate bar for being brave during her dentist appointment. The rain began to pour heavier as they hurried. But just as they neared the store, a police cruiser screeched around the corner and pulled over without warning. "Get down!" a voice thundered. Before Kiara could respond, Officer Darren Holtz, a decorated white officer known in the precinct for his zero-tolerance attitude, jumped from the vehicle, gun drawn. In seconds, Kiara was slammed against the hood, Amara screamed, and everything blurred. She watched her mother being handcuffed, not understanding why. Amara stood in the rain, crying and begging the officer to stop. There had been a reported robbery nearby, and Kiara, matching a vague description, was presumed guilty. "That's her," Holtz had declared, never checking ID, never calling backup, never questioning. But Kiara hadn't done anything. In fact, security footage would later show she was nowhere near the scene. What should have been a simple clarification turned into a traumatic arrest, with Amara watching helplessly. The video of Amara's tear-streaked face and her mother being forced into the backseat of the cruiser went viral within 24 hours. Social media exploded. Hashtags like #JusticeForKiara and #LetAmara trended globally. But that was just the cover-up, as community activists protested outside the courthouse and TV vans circled like vultures. Janet Langley was pressured to review the case. However, Officer Holtz had powerful connections and a spotless record on paper. Amara was placed in temporary foster care while Kiara awaited trial. But the story began to unravel. A young black public defender named Marcus Hale, passionate and razor-smart, took Kiara's case pro bono. He started digging. He found body cam footage that had mysteriously been deleted. But through subpoenas and a whistleblower inside the department, they recovered fragments enough to show that Officer Holtz had made a false identification and used unnecessary force. But the prosecution wasn't backing down. They painted Kiara as hostile and evasive. The police union backed Holtz. Behind closed doors, officers discussed silencing Marcus and suppressing the evidence. That's when Amara did something no one expected. At her foster home, she secretly wrote a letter to the judge. "I want to speak. I saw what he did. He hurt my mom." The judge, compelled by the letter and the firestorm online, permitted Amara to testify. The day Amara entered the courtroom, wearing a tiny blazer and clutching her teddy bear, the world held its breath. News anchors called it the trial of the decade. But no one was prepared for what she would say. The courtroom was packed: activists, reporters, lawyers, and cold stares from the defense side. Officer Holtz sat smugly, arms crossed, his badge gleaming. The judge leaned forward. "Amara Jenkins, please approach." She shuffled slowly, eyes wide but determined. She glanced at her mother, sitting behind Marcus, and nodded. Then she turned to the jury. "He told my mommy she looked like a thief," Amara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He didn't even ask her name. He pushed her face on the car. She cried. I cried. He told me to shut up." Gasps rippled through the room. "Did your mother do anything wrong?" the prosecutor asked. No, she just wanted to buy me chocolate. Then came the moment that stopped time. Amara, the judge said gently, can you point to the person who hurt your mom? She turned, hand trembling, and pointed directly at Officer Holtz. Him. Silence. Total, suffocating silence. Holtz's smirk faded. The room was stunned. No child rehearses trauma like that. She described details that no one else knew. Holtz whispering threats, pushing Kiara harder when she tried to explain. The court wasn't just hearing a child testify. They were hearing the voice of every black mother and daughter silenced in plain sight. The defense scrambled, but it was too late. The judge reopened key evidence, the jury whispered, and Holtz's credibility cracked wide open. Internal Affairs reopened other cases he'd closed with resistance claims. Marcus uncovered 3 more incidents with eerily similar patterns: black suspects, vague descriptions, excessive force. The court cleared Kiara of all charges. Holtz was suspended pending investigation. A month later, he was indicted for civil rights violations. But the real victory came quietly when Amara walked out of the courthouse hand in hand with her mother, cameras flashing and a nation watching. Kiara sued the city and won. With the settlement, she opened a trauma center for children of color. Marcus became a rising star in justice reform circles. Amara's courage led to the Amara Act, requiring all minor witnesses to have trauma advocates in court. But none of that would have happened if one little black girl hadn't stood up, pointed at power, and spoken truth. Because sometimes, the smallest voice in the room isn't just heard, it changes everything.